done and are doing to it.
Taylor Swift's private jet travel is making headlines. She's been accused of generating 138 tons of CO2 in 3 months, equivalent to 12,622 gallons of jet fuel. Sustainability marketing firm Yard found that Swift, in 2022 alone, released some 8,000 tons of CO2 using her private jet. The emissions matched those of more than 1,000 homes in the same year. Swift's spokesperson rejected the numbers as blatantly inaccurate and says the singer hopes to shake it off through carbon offsetting, a practice many climate scientists say fails to address the root problem. The megastar is the latest in a string of celebrities, government officials, and elite business people under fire for their lavish lifestyles. As the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility, but the world of the wealthiest and the biggest stars is no black and white film, and to show colourful and dangerous indulgence.
High-end brands, mega yachts, luxury cars, and private jets are commonplace among the rich and famous. But as 1/10 of the global population goes to bed hungry every night, and our climate warms at an untenable rate, the ultra-elite engage in wasteful consumption. The exorbitant lifestyles of the uber-rich play a significant role in extreme weather events. They can afford to endure heat waves, flooding, and drought. Reality star Kim Kardashian, for one, received water alerts in 2022 for her excessive consumption during shortages in California. Climate activists and sustainability firms have taken note. The aviation industry is responsible for around 3.5% of global warming, but more than half is generated by 1% of the world's population. This stems from several factors. The wealthy travel frequently and account for a whopping 70% of flights, and traveling first class has its own carbon footprint. Travelers having hors d'oeuvres and sipping Chardonnay generate up to 7 times more pollution than those in economy. What's worse is those with private jets emit 2 metric tons of CO2 in just an hour. To put that into context, the average person in the European Union produces about 8 tons of emissions over the course of an entire year. Sustainability firm Yard studied the private jet records of several high-profile celebrities and found that for just 71 minutes in the air, their emissions exceeded the average person's annual emissions 482 times. Some countries are tackling the issue. Canada, for example, is clamping down on extravagance with a luxury tax on new cars, boats, and airplanes passed in 2023. China, too, imposed an extra 10% tax on super luxury cars. And in the US, the Luxury Cap Act was introduced to limit the production and consumption of ecologically harmful luxury goods and services.
Alright, Celine, let me first get your response to the allegations against Taylor Swift. Do you think her carbon footprint is big news?
Well, of course, indeed. If highly visible celebrities won't accept climate policies in the world at the age of, climate change, the public probably won't either, isn't it? So they must be a role model for the society. And to be honest, celebrities play a very, very different and very, very, important role in elite circle. When, for example, DiCaprio speaks at the United Nations or any CEO at any cocktail party, he's very efficient. He's effectively representing his followers to the policymakers and business leaders with actual power to follow climate and net zero targets by 2050. So, of course, in that regard, Taylor Swift's act is very important, and Swift would need 30 billion house plants to offset her CO2 emissions, and it is really, really good target.
Yeah, a study by digital sustainability consultancy said that she is the world's most carbon polluting celebrity in 2022. And their results had shown that she'd flown around 170 times since January of that year for a year, which is like equivalent to about 23,000 minutes in the air. But I thought it was a funny observation that Fox News in the US began talking about her emissions, even though they don't really report on environmental stuff?
Well, in terms of social justice, from social justice to scientific background, regardless any political, attachment or any political background, this is very controversial issue, of course, because regardless any political issue, private planes emit more than 10 times more carbon than commercial airline passengers. So, from private jets to super yachts, here is the climate impact of rich and famous people, regardless their political perspective or political attachment, engagement. So in that regard, we see how pop culture creates greenwashing culture. So to compensate their total poisonous emissions, according to Copernicus Climate Center, the total amount of house plants needed to offset carbon emission for the worst polluting celebrity is 186 billion plants. So it means that you need an area bigger than the state of Vermont. So this is much more important than for the future of our kids. This is much more important than political fights between Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, indeed. And based on those figures you mentioned, I wonder if the mega wealthy and celebrities think about ending all those high emitting activities. I mean, they've always owned private jets, huge yachts, but do you think they care about the argument they should stop using these things because of the effect on the environment?
As I highlighted, celebrities, of course, they are very, very important, role model for the young generations. Thanks to pandemic, there were some travel restrictions, and scientifically we realized that if you stop carbon emissions, you can create amazing, beautiful Mother Earth for young generations, and you can breathe very clean air. So this is very important, and this is very, very stronger, very important actually. So of course I'm sure that in that regard money talks, but also celebrities, they should quit their wasteful habits, and because of their money thirsty habits. Yes, they are here to engage with people, to communicate with people, for the concert, to cheer up the people, but also they have to they have to reconsider their wasteful habits for the mental health of the society, because according to NHS, the biggest mental health culprit is air pollution. So in that regard, celebrities, media tycoons, they need to consider their yearly based average emissions every year.
Yeah, I'm sure you have mega wealthy people in the UK who have high emissions too. Do you support a climate tax?
Of course, taxation is very, very important in that regard, because as you remember, if you want to launch a very green company, now if you go to United States, you can have 50% tax reduction thanks to this green investment authorities, Inflation Reduction Act of Biden government. So this is very important. Our French transportation minister has called restriction on private jets, and they announced heavy taxes on the private jets by citing their climate impact and climate targets. So to solve this problem, I always say MMA rule is very important. So money connected with Master of Science and Artificial Intelligence, and also with the taxation. So we can only fight against climate change by the help of artificial intelligence, Master of Science, and of course money, investments. So it means taxation.